He held back his surge of emotions and spoke up.
よし、そんじゃ脱出するか。
じゃあ私が先に入って安全を確かめるよ。頼みますよ、森部。はい、任せて。
Jun went through the opening in high spirits as the others saw her off. However, not even a second later, Jun's scream pierced through the darkness on the other side.
森部、何事ですか?
The rest of the group gulped and went through the opening. The room they entered was about 9 square meters in size. There was a cargo lift for supplies big enough for people to fit on, lying on the other side of the room, just as the manual had said. Jun was standing in front of it, frozen like a statue.
森部、何があった？
ここにも。
Jun pointed to the side of the lift as she said that in a trembling voice. Watase was rendered speechless at that sight. What? Lying there was the body of a girl. Who are you?
誰なんだ、この子は。その、鳥羽真白って子か？
What? But Anna, her face white as a sheet, answered quickly in a low voice.
違うわ。
何？じゃあ誰の？
Everyone just stared at the body of this girl who no one knew, and who never even come up once until this point. A hole had been pierced through her stomach. Gunshot wound. The blood that had poured out of it had already dried up into a dark color. She had undoubtedly been murdered. But when that happened was something that no one knew, and the bigger question was, why did someone kill this girl? The girl's face was completely expressionless. There wasn't a hint of fear or pain to be seen. She just stared at the floor with hollow eyes. Everyone was utterly dumbstruck. The room was now as silent as a tomb. It wasn't long before Ukita let out another surprised gasp.
No.
He slowly staggered over to the panel. The lift's control panel that was lying next to the girl. Been completely destroyed. As if someone had intentionally broken it. Kita silently tried to work it. Nothing happened. Even after he pressed the switch, the lift didn't make a sound. Kita then hit the panel in what seemed like resignation, then shook his head. Still air filled the small room yet again.
どうして?
It was Yuri who broke up the silence.
どうしてこんなことに?
Her voice, brimming with bewilderment and despair, echoed through the confined room. No one could answer her. Everyone just stood absolutely still, overcome with shock. Chapter 4. The group had been guided by hope up until now. They'd had faith that there must be an escape route somewhere, that survivors must still live, awaiting rescue somewhere. The cargo lift they'd found at the end of their search should have been their only escape route. But it had already been destroyed. There had never been any hope to begin with. Instead, all they'd found there was the unidentified body of a girl. The group was frozen in total shock. Everyone had been struck speechless by this unforeseen turn of events. Soon enough,
バイタルチェックを。 Senses Sympathy System. バイタルチェックを。 Senses Sympathy System. バイタルチェックを。
Kazumi,
バイタルチェックを。 Senses Sympathy System. バイタルチェックを。
Kazumi ran over to the girl with that declaration. She took off her vital checker and put it around the girl's wrist. All 5 lights shone a bright red.
コンディションオールレッド
She opened the girl's eyelids up wider and checked her pupils. Not to remove from the shock right now, but I'm just imagining in this future world, the older generation, with the introduction of those vital checkers, the older generation be like, back in my day, we used to have to hold someone's wrist to check their pulse to make sure they're dead. We didn't have any of them god-fangled vital checkers. Wee-hoo.
東光三大
Yeah, she's pretty fucking dead. Kasumi laid the girl down and spoke.
森部手伝いなさい心肺蘇生を行いますはい
Really? Jun hurriedly sat down next to the girl. Kasumi performed cardiac massage, 15 compressions. Jun performed artificial respiration, 2 rescue breaths. The girl didn't respond. Watase just stood there in blank amazement, unable to even do a thing. 15 compressions. 2 rescue breaths. The girl didn't respond.
無理だ
He didn't kneel beside the girl. Muttered that. Kasumi and Jun ignored him and continued their CPR. 15 compressions. 2 rescue breaths.
もう死んでる
15 compressions. 2 rescue breaths.
君たちは救えなかった
15 compressions. 2 rescue breaths.
僕も
Do you know her? Do you know her, Akita? 15 compressions. 2 rescue breaths. 15 compressions. 2 rescue breaths. 15 compressions. 2 rescue breaths. Kasumi didn't stop the CPR.
立花もう
Watase's word didn't seem to register with Kasumi. Eventually her watch alarm went off. Oh shit.
立花 AD の投与時間だ
Kasumi!
聞こえてるかおい
Kasumi! Watase took out one of the AD ampules and administered it to himself. Oh, okay. He then injected Ena and Yuri with 2 other ampules. Yuri was so out of it that she didn't even offer up one of her usual protests.
ほら立花お前たちも投与しろ
Kasumi didn't reply. Kasumi! Her lips faintly moved. Eh?
死なないで渚
Nagisa? Jun's eyes widened at that moment.
お姉ちゃんこの子は渚じゃないよ
Eh? Nagisa? Confusion swept over Watase. Kasumi didn't listen and continued her CPR attempts.
副隊長もうやめよ
Kasumi finally stopped moving at the sound of Jun's cry.
立花
He couldn't say any more. Kasumi quietly turned around towards Watase and spoke.
手を尽くしてはみましたが
It was too late from the get-go.
死亡しています
Kasumi muttered that. Her face seemed absolutely devoid of all of life. The rest of the group chose that moment to speak up in terrified voices.
副隊長さんその大丈夫なの
Good question.
ご心配をおかけしましたもう大丈夫です
Take your AD. Her tone of voice and the look on her face were the same as always, and full of a harshness that wouldn't accept any further questions. What the hell just happened? Kasumi had clearly been acting strange. Her attitude made it clear that she would reject any questions regarding the reason for her actions. However, there was one thing they all knew for sure. There's been yet another victim. The group left the room, their hearts full of melancholy. left the girl's body where it was. Cosme, take her AD.
もし
Eh? No sooner had they exited Whoa, what? No sooner had they exited than did the Procyon alarm start beeping. The reading on its display showed 4,000 millisivil. It appeared that the contamination had spread to the factory, too, shooting the radiation levels up to the first danger standard. The whole facility could suffer the same fate if this keeps up. It's a problem just as grave as the body they'd found. This meant that they weren't guaranteed to survive in this hellish place even with AD.
立花、森部、おっさんも AD を投与するんだ。いろいろ気になることがあるとは思うが、頼む。
ええ。そうしよう。私たちだって死にたくないもん。
Their lives have been extended for another hour yet again, but this time, our escape route's been cut off. At this rate, we'll need to inject ourselves with AD 5 more times. But they'd already used up all the AD they had. They'd searched what felt like the entire facility so far, so unless they missed some AD somewhere, they'd all be exposed to radiation in just an hour. In that case, does that mean we have to look through all the areas again? Search every nook and cranny in more depth than last time? He shook his head as soon as he thought that. Their one light of hope having been so cruelly snuffed out, all of his fatigue was catching up with him at once. His body wasn't in perfect shape either, with his cracked ribs and the cut on the back of his head. His eyes that had been stung by smoke so many times suddenly started hurting. Everyone's faces were equally filled with bewilderment. No one said a word. They were just all so confused about this incredibly unexpected sight they'd seen in the room. You still have to keep on searching. A voice started pouring out of Watase's PDA as he thought that. Oh, it was Commander Murakami again. Watase took out his PDA in shock.
缶あり、こちら笠崎、缶あり。
There's much more static on this radio transmission than the previous ones. Oh, fucking hell.
司令長、聞こえないぞ。
Didn't find anyone with a gun. I could tell he was saying something like, we couldn't find anyone with a gun. Can't confirm if there's a killer here or not.
わかった。それからなんだ。
Oh, great. Commander desperately tried to give Watase's group the information they needed in the intervals between the loud bursts of static. Two researchers. It seemed like he was repeating the same message over and over again. The group gathered around Watase's PDA and did their best not to miss a single word. No, a single letter that he spoke. Dojima Hiyama, two researchers. 3 high school students. And two girls. 3 high school students. Well, we found one girl, and we have the other girl in our possession. Transmission ended there. All that could be heard was white noise.
今のは要救助者の。
Watase put the PDA away. Cosme, who'd finally regained her wits, spoke up.
ええ。この施設に取り残されている可能性がある人物を 我々に伝えようとしていたのでしょう。なんて言ってたと思う？
つなぎ合わせると死者を含め取り残されてるのは
堂島と檜山、研究員2名、
それから高校生3名。
待って、それだけじゃない。最後にまだ何か言ってたわよ。
Two girls.
あ、確か少女2名とか。
少女って
Everyone's eyes focused on Yuri all at once.
多分私のことだと思います。
だろうな。じゃあもう一人はあの女の子が。
Watase then got to thinking. Of all the people the commander had said were still trapped here, Dojima and Hiyama, 2 researchers, one of the girls, were already dead. Apart from that, it was one other girl, Yuri, and 3 high school students.
やっぱりまだあの3人は脱出していなかったのか。
Anna was taken aback at Watase's words.
じゃあ、あの子たちはどこかに倒れて。大変や、きっと見落としてしまったんだわ。
落ち着いてください、椿山さん。彼らが移動している可能性もあります。我々はなるべく固まって行動していました。そして捜索の道順はほぼいつも一方向だけでした。ならば行き違いになったと考えるのが妥当です。
That's very likely. The group had indeed searched all the areas, including the contaminated zones. So if Kazmi's theory was correct, then it makes total sense why they hadn't found them yet.
でも、だったらなおのことすぐ探しに行かなきゃ。
待て先生、その前に考えなきゃならんことがある。
何をよ。
今俺たちが置かれている状況についてだ。
Watase was talking about the cargo lift room, the room with the body.
破壊されていた脱出口に見知らぬ少女の死体って。これは一体どういう状況なんだ。
There was no one who could answer that question. In the end, it was Kazmi who broke the heavy silence.
状況を整理しましょう。私にはあの子がここから逃げようとして亡くなったように見えました。
That would make sense.
ほら、これを見てください。
Kazmi then took a security card out of her pocket. Name Shuya Eraguchi was on it. As were the words level N.
レベル N？ どうしたんだこれ。
It was ranked higher than the level 6 cards that the group had.
あの少女の遺体のそばに落ちていたんです。彼女はこれを使って搬出リフトの前までやってきたのでしょう。でもどうしてあの子こんなレベルの高いカードを。何者なの？
ゆうりくん同様職員の家族か。
ただともかく彼女は必死でここまでたどり着き、しかし出口がないことに絶望して力尽きた。
でもだったら誰がリフトを壊したんだ。
Everyone's faces froze over that question.
あれはどう考えても偶然壊れたもんじゃない。誰かが意図的に壊したんだ。
あの子が壊したって可能性は？
ゼロじゃないが普通に考えればないだろう。
Right.
しかしいずれにせよそんなことをして何の得があるのですか？リフトのコンパネが壊されているということは、壊した人は地下に残ったということです。しかしこんな場所に自ら残りたがる人がいるとは思えません。
You're not wrong.
それは
That's a good question. Watase didn't have a clue either. Who in their right mind would be willing to brave the risk of being trapped in this place to the point of cutting off their own escape route? But his thoughts were interrupted by Enna's subdued voice.
例の犯人じゃないの。
犯人って先生何の。
Okay,
そこの子を殺した犯人よ。おそらく第3エリアで3人を殺したのと同一犯のね。
yeah. Which begs the question of why the killer would want to be trapped down here, too. Watase's mind flashed back for a second to the grotesque sight he'd witnessed in that room. Oh, we're flashing back. Two of the corpses there had bullet wounds, just like the girl. Yeah, it is possible that the killer was one of those people is one and the same.
皆さんは今まであの3つの死体から目をそらしてきたわね。人殺しは逃げたということで、犯人についての議論は棚上げにしていた。犯人探しはここから脱出してからやればいいと思っていたんでしょう。
Kasumi had sternly told everyone that back when they found the bodies.
でもその前提が狂ってしまった。どうやら脱出は容易じゃない。だからもう言わせてもらうわ。これはただの事故じゃないのよ。
And a sharp voice echoed in the silent factory.
ただの事故じゃないってどういうことだ。
脱出経路に銃殺体があったなら、逃げようとしたところを撃ち殺されたと考えるのが普通でしょ。脱出不能な地下施設の中で殺人事件が起きた。だったらその閉鎖空間は犯人が作り出したものかもしれないじゃない。
そんな、何のために？
どうしても殺したい相手がいて、その人を殺すために残ったかもしれないわね。例えば核液が閉鎖されている間に全ての死体を焼いてしまえば証拠だって残らないもの。
So would they.
やめろ先生、憶測が過ぎるぞ。いたずらに不安を煽ってどうする。
It's worth considering, but the thing you have to explain is, do they have a death wish? Watase finally grew sick of Enna's conspiracy theories and objected. Then Jun cut in.
ちょっと待って、二人とも。
何？
いや、今までは
What is this music?
あまり考えてなかったんだけど。
What is this music?
実は近頃、六名士にこのラボがある町にテロリストが侵入したかもしれないんだよ。
What?
テロリスト？
That sudden phrase left Watase in shock.
なぜそう思うの？
信憑性に欠けるかもしれないけど、そういう噂があったんだよ。最近町のあちこちで似たような事件が起きてたし、昨日だって他の大きな研究施設が爆破されたんだ。
What?
原子炉を狙ったテロ。ありえない話じゃないわね。やたらと起きていた爆発と火災、不自然に停止していた消火システム、考えてみれば明らかに人為的だもの。それに原子炉を爆破でもすれば破壊活動としてはものすごい成果を上げられるものね。
That theory was indeed correct, and it was no surprise that there'd be bullet holes in all those corpses. If terrorists truly are behind this, it would also explain why so many unnatural situations have kept on piling up. But Ukita scoffed.
君たちは映画か何かの見過ぎじゃないのかね。テロだって？バカバカしい。この施設の警備の厳重さを知らないのかね。原子炉を保有している施設は超法規的警備を行うことが認められている。自衛隊から出向した警備員がライフルとライアットガンを装備し24時間警備をしているんだ。それを乗り越えてまでテロを敢行するなどフィクションの世界の話だよ。
言うわね。でも万全だったはずの防災システムも蓋を開ければザルだったじゃない。その警備の隙を突かれてテロリストの侵入を許したという可能性はどこかに抜け道があるんじゃないの？
抜け道ってそんなこと僕に分かるわけないだろ。自説にこだわりすぎて論理性を失ってるよ君は。
そう。事実あそこにも見知らぬ少女が侵入しているわけだし、あなたの信頼する警備システムとやらも 信頼に足るとは思えないわ。
そんなにも我が施設の責任にしたいのかね、君は。
Ukita and Anna felt like they were standing right next to a powder keg ready to explode. I mean, it's an interesting discussion, guys, but shouldn't we be worrying about not dying in an hour? Yuri timidly pleaded to them. Then someone least expected also spoke up.
確かにテロリストの存在については一応考慮するべきかもしれませんね。
Okay, we'll consider it, but can we get back to surviving?
何？
副隊長、信じてくれるの？
ええ、多少は。しかしテロリストなんてものが実際にいたと仮定しても、やはり以前も申し上げた通り、犯人は核兵器の閉鎖前に脱出している可能性が高いと思います。
それはどういう根拠で？
テロリストも我々同様閉じ込められたとしたら、核兵器封鎖からすでに5時間近く経ってますが、なぜこうも姿を現さないのでしょうか。
Okay, that's fair.
銃を持っているのなら我々を人質に取るなり AD を取り上げるなりいくらでもできるはずです。なのにそれをしない。どう考えても不自然です。以上が私の考えです。
でもさっきの通信で銃を持った人間は地上に脱出してはいないと言っていたわよね。それについては？
どこかに銃を捨てればいいだけの話です。そして核兵器閉鎖直前のあの大パニックに紛れ込めばいくらでも逃げることができるでしょう。
It was well thought out, logical reasoning that befitted someone like Kazumi. Thank you, Kazumi.
私もそう思います。
Yuri voiced her own opinion, a rather rare occasion to say the least.
待ってよ副隊長、そう考えるのは早計じゃない？
何ですか森部。
いつも私に言ってんじゃん。現状では最悪の事態を常に想定しろって。もしテロリストが地下に残ってたら危険の質が全然変わってくるでしょ。
それとこれとは別種の話です。我々でも
Yeah, true.
可能性を考慮することは大事だわ。
では何かね、地下に残っている9人の中にテロリストが紛れ込んでいるとでも？まさか君は自分の生徒を疑うのかね？
何をバカなことを言ってんのよ。そんなこと誰も言ってないでしょ。
ではこの6人の中にテロリストがいると？それはますますありえません。
I vote for Ukita.
この中に悪意のある人間が混ざっていたとしたら、我々は今よりはるかに苦境に立たされているはずです。
Everyone was voicing their own opinions, and Watase thought they all had their own good points. Having this debate drag on for so long was truly getting unpleasant.
わかった。ちょっと落ち着こうみんな。
何よ隊長さん、あなただけ何も意見を言ってないじゃない。
わかってる。でもとりあえず一度自説は引っ込めて。
Before Watase could say any more, shock ran through his head. What? After that, countless scenes flashed through his brain. What? Watase was confused by this random phenomenon. Events of the last few hours flashed before him. Everything from when he'd woken up in Area 1 to arriving in Area 6. All streamed past his eyes like a muddy stream for some reason, and then disappeared. What?
何よ急に黙って。
And then the others were staring at Watase with wide eyes. He was so surprised that he was at a complete loss for words. The hell was that? It was clearly bizarre. It wasn't like he'd been reflecting on his memories. No, this was totally different. He'd remembered that everything that happened up until this point in a second, and in such minute detail at that. And at that exact moment, he made several connections about a few of the things he'd observed up until now. Wait a minute. Let's say there is a terrorist down here. Which one of the 9 trapped in this facility would be the most likely suspect? Oh. What? Suspicion started faintly flaring up in Watase's heart. What is happening right now? It swiftly grew bigger. He said that Labo's security is so strict that no terrorist could ever sneak in. The old man's a staff member here. It would have been easy for him to let a terrorist in. What are the odds that the loophole in security Teach was talking about could be old man Ukita? Oh boy. No wait, it's not restricted to the old man. Maybe he was one of the other researchers who was already evacuated. Those doubts begot even more doubts. No, what if it's the other way around? What are the odds that Teach is a terrorist? Now that I think about it, her reason for being here is flimsy to begin with. We have no clue if she was really summoned here by a staffer. Watase immediately denied those suspicions. Anna was a normal teacher no matter what angle one viewed her from. There's nothing about her that seemed remotely like a terrorist. How about Tachibana and Moribe? Going to trust you both with all my heart. Nothing strange about anything they've said and done. They've always acted in the interest of everyone's safety. I'm sure I can trust them. In fact, isn't the reason that the lockdown is still going on? I think that it's fishy here. Is it really because of the radiation leakage control system? His doubts just kept on summoning more doubt. Something was bizarre. Putting aside the images he'd just seen and his chain of rising doubt, feels like someone is commanding me to recall everything you've seen so far, and think about the path that has led you up to this point. But who could that someone be? Watase looked over everyone's faces. He was still just as perplexed about that phenomenon as he had been from the start. He glanced at Kazumi, Jun, Okita, Anna, and then... It was then that he noticed it. Yuri was gone. Oh! Watase's surprised declaration sent everyone turning around. Don't tell me she's the terrorist!
Yuri-san!
Kazumi frantically looked around. Watase also turned around and saw the Area 5 gate open with Yuri running into it. I wonder if this whole thing was kind of false flag ending choices, because we didn't get a Senses decision for Anna. I mean, for Yuri. And yet she had her refusal to take AD. I think that's the only real suspicious part about her, is her refusal to take AD. And yet that could be any number of things. That could be hiding any number of things. Group all broke off into a dash at once. Area 5, Outer Ring, B2. Kazumi spoke up to the rest of the group as soon as they all ran in there. Watase checked the time on his watch. It said 12:31 p.m. The group all gave similar answers and split up. Kazumi and Jun kept going straight towards Area 4. Probably planned to seal off the other exits before Yuri could flee to another area. Anna and Okita checked all the nearby rooms. So Watase headed for the inner ring. I think Moribe ever told Yuri that the inner ring was a contaminated zone. If she ran there, then that means... Watase's thoughts were interrupted by a voice echoing in his head. Yes, boss. It was the first time in a while he'd heard that auditory hallucination. Watase headed to the contaminated zone as if guided by the voice. Ran through the connecting passageway and plunged straight into the inner ring. His Pokeon's alarm immediately started beeping. Indicator read 9,355 millisivil, but he ignored it and started shouting.
Yuri! Yuri!
He checked every single room in his search, but Yuri was nowhere to be seen. To be safe, Watase went to check the elevator hall. That was where he found her.
Yuri!
Upon hearing Watase shout, Yuri twitched with a start and turned around.
やっぱり追ってきてくれたんですね。
やっぱりって、そりゃそうだろ。それよりユーリ、ここは危険なんだ。汚染区域なんだよ。
A troubled smile rose to Yuri's face at the words.
そうなんですか。なのに隊長さんは私のために飛び込んできてくれた。
ユーリ。
Yuri paid no heed to Watase's confusion and looked him dead in the eye.
いつもそうやって心配してくれるんですね。でもだったらどうしてあの時あんなひどいことをしたんですか？
What?
何？
Watase gasped. He had no recollection of ever doing anything of the sort.
ひどいことって。
本当に忘れてしまったんですか？
Her voice was filled with some unknown emotion.
私はもう少しで死んでしまうところでした。
What? A mixture of confusion and terror.
火の中に置き去りにされて本当に怖かった。
Her words were shaking Watase up.
なのに私を助けたのも隊長さんだった。
Watase felt something new gripping his heart.
どういうつもりなんですか？
An intense fear.
ユーリ、何を言っているんだ。
Somehow knew that Yuri was about to reveal something truly horrifying. Something he didn't know. No. Something he shouldn't know. Yuri shook her head.
あなたにわからないんだったら私にもわかりません。私にはもう何もわからないんです。
Yuri quietly walked over to him.
だからお願いです。隊長さん、教えてください。あなたの心を。
What? Yuri said that and turned her palm towards Watase. Only for a bizarre scene to play back through his head. What? It was a memory he had no recollection of. Something was grabbing his wrist. It then laughed ominously. The man spotted a broken wristwatch out of the corner of his eye. And a second later, was assaulted by an intense pain akin to his brain being crushed. Something else was also welling up inside Watase. It was unmistakably fear. And Watase felt that very same emotion towards the girl standing right before him. Watase immediately ran out of the elevator hall. Once he shut the door, he suddenly came to his senses. Shit, what the hell am I doing? Do I need to run from Yuri? She's Yuri, she's not that monster. So he thought that. A sharp pain shot through his head. Watase held his head and screamed. The scream echoed in his skull, jumbling his thoughts into disorder. The hell is this? I've never felt anything like this. Till now. Is this radiation damage? Is it because I've been to contaminated zones several times? He had a horrible headache, like something was piercing through his head and scrambling his brain. Pain spread to his whole body, and his stomach felt like it was being stretched out. Watase threw up. There's nothing in his stomach, so all that came up was stomach acid mixed with blood that splattered all over the hallway. His consciousness was fading away quickly. Memories were shattered back then. My past self's memories, my... Watase screamed again and forced his consciousness to stay where it was. Memories had been muddled by that intense headache. He looked down to find there was red vomit at his feet. What just happened to me? What was I doing? He shuffled through his memories and quickly remembered that he'd been searching for Yuri. Damn it. Suffered this much damage from the radiation, that Yuri's in danger. And frail girl could never survive in such a dangerous place. The thing Watase felt was concern for her. Felt like he'd just been feeling some other sort of emotion for her. Whatever it was had completely vanished. Watase spat out the disgusting taste filling his mouth. Then ran back over to the elevator hall. But Yuri was gone. Yuri was no longer there. There was nowhere to run from the elevator hall, so where had she gone? Watase opened the elevator doors with that thought. The elevator car was still up on the surface floors, just as it had been earlier. Watase climbed up the ladder through the darkness. When he got to B1, Yuri was still nowhere to be found. Let's make the dangerous choice. I feel like that's a dangerous choice. Watase ran around the block. However, even after looking through all the rooms, there was still no hide nor hair of Yuri to be found. Why? Where did she go? For wondering why she was gone wouldn't do any good. He had to keep searching. Yuri! Yuri! He ran towards the outer ring as he shouted that. Once he approached the connecting passageway, he saw Kazumi and Jun. Two of them rushed over to him as soon as they heard his calls.
Yuri-chan,
ついさっき内周島で見かけたが見失った。
こっちもです。第4エリア側に行かないようにゲート周辺を固めていたのですが。
どこにもいない。
Three of them all exchanged glances.
消えた。なぜだ。
入れ違いになったのでしょうか。
変だね。それにどうしてユリちゃんはさっきこの第5エリアに入れたんだろう。
はあ、それも妙だ。
It went without saying, but you needed a level 5 or higher card to open the security gate to Area 5. All the cards they had acquired so far were in the possession of Watase, Kazumi, and Jun. No one else should have had a card.
ユリちゃん、カードを隠し持っていたの？
どうもそうとしか思えないな。でもどうしてユリはそのことについて隠していたんだろう。
Yuri's motives had suddenly become incomprehensible to them. Yet another silence descended upon them. Eventually, Kazumi broke that silence with a sigh.
ここで議論していても答えは出ませんね。ひとまず脳科学実験室に行きましょう。そろそろ約束の集合時間ですから。
何？もうか。
Watase checked his watch. It was 12:35 p.m. It was indeed almost time for them to meet up. Have I really been searching for that long? Watase followed Kazumi and Jun as a vague sense of dissatisfaction coiled around him. He then called out to Kazumi as they walked.
立花、内州島は汚染されていた。有利の身が心配だ。
え？
汚染区域になっているってことは有利にも伝えたが、それでもあいつは逃げたんだ。
そんな、どうして？
俺にもわからん。以前にもこうして逃げたことがあったが。
Maybe she's got magical immunity to radiation. Kazumi hung her head when Watase said that.
AD の効果はまだ1時間近くある。それまでに探さなきゃまずい。
え
え。もっとも有利はカードを隠し持っていたように AD も隠し持っている可能性はゼロではないな。立花。
Kazumi was dead silent. Perhaps she hadn't heard Watase, saying that her lips faintly moved, releasing a small whisper. I trust you. Kazumi picked up the pace once she said that.
Oi.
She didn't turn around even from that. Watase glanced at Jun. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Jun looked sadly at Kazumi. Yeah, something's definitely up. Watase ran up to Kazumi as soon as he thought that.
なあ、立花。
Eh? She finally looked at Watase after hearing him shout.
さっきからお前、ちょっと変じゃないか。搬出リフトのところで少女の遺体を見つけた時も、渚がどうとかって言ってたけど。
お聞きになったのですか？
Yeah!
あ、今のお前はさっきと同じ感じになっているように見える。渚って何なんだ？なんでいつも冷静なお前がこんな風に。
Kazumi breathed a deep sigh at Watase's question.
お教えしておいた方が良さそうですね。
She then began quietly talking.
渚というのは私の妹の名です。
Oh.
妹？
ええ。もう10年近くも前に亡くしたたった一人の家族。
Watase gasped. Kazumi continued with her story.
当時、私はレスキュー隊員でも消防隊員でもなく、普通に働いていました。市営団地の一室で妹と2人暮らす生活。ささやかだけれど幸せな日々でした。
Oh?
だけどある日、いつも通りに仕事から帰ってきた私が見たものは、渚の待つ市営団地が崩壊している光景でした。
Oh, damn.
崩壊って一体何が？
ガス爆発です。団地を半壊させるほどの爆発が起きて、
Oh, Jesus.
私は何もできず、ただ立ち尽くすばかりでした。やがて消防車がやってきて、渚は病院に担ぎ込まれましたが、その甲斐なく。
Kazumi's voice was as calm as always. In contrast, Watase's heart felt like it was shaking.
すまない。立ち入ったことを聞いてしまったな。
いいえ、隊長にこの話をするのは初めてではありませんから。
Ah, naturally. Watase had never cursed his amnesia more than he did now. Gone and made her relive this painful story twice? Kazumi didn't seem bothered by it. She hung her head down and spoke.
渚が生きていれば、ちょうど優里さんやリフトのところで死んでいたあの子くらいの年になります。私はね、隊長、あの年頃の少女が傷ついているのや危機にさらされているのを見ると、とても 冷静じゃいられなくなるんですよ。いつもは冷静沈着な完璧主義者を気取っていても、一皮むけばこのざまです。なのでこの仕事に就いてしまった。災害の現状は食材の場ではないので、お笑いくださいますか。
Kazumi gave a self-depreciating laugh. Now Watase understood the true meaning behind Kazumi's attitude towards Yuri. So being hard on Yuri was her way of showing concern. Watase, now filled with this knowledge,
笑うわけないだろ、バカ。
wrapped an arm around Kazumi's head. Kazumi jolted with a start and then froze.
隊長、おやめください。森部に示しがつきません。
New decree: group hugs are allowed. You could tell that Jun was staring at them from behind. Watase did his best to ignore that.
いいから聞いてくれ、立花。今の俺が分かった風なことを言うのはお前に対する冒涜かもしれないが、今言わなきゃいけないことだと思うんだ。立花、お前は強い女だ。高潔で勇壮で心底尊敬に値する女だ。だがいくら強くても傷つかない人間なんかいない。傷も弱さも隠し続けて生きていけるやつなんかいないはずだ。だからせめて仲間の前では少しくらい弱さを見せてっていいじゃないか。
Kazumi gasped.
その言葉、
やっぱ偉そうだったか。
いえ。
Kazumi said that and touched Watase's arm.
おっしゃる通りだと思って。それに正直嬉しい。
Kazumi then gave him a faint smile. It was a smile without the slightest hint of gloom in it. A smile Watase had never seen before.
そうか。
Watase felt a tinge of relief flood over him, and he let go of Kazumi. Kazumi's face then grew stirred to hide the shades of red forming on her cheeks.
さて、私のせいで時間を無駄にしてしまいました。脳科学実験室に急ぎましょう。
Kazumi said that and broke off into a dash. Yes, let's. Watase tried to follow her, but then Jun ran up to him and gave him a pat on the back.
どうした？まずかったか。
いや、ベリーグッド。男前だね、隊長。
Watase returned her smile, then ran off together with Jun. Area 5, Outer Ring, B2, Neuroscience Laboratory. Watase, Kazumi, and Jun filed into the room. Ena and Ukita were not far behind, but no one had seen Yuri.
私は地下2階を探していたんだけど、どこにもいなかったわ。
僕もだが。
やはり見失ってしまいましたか。
The gloomy look on Kazumi's face as she said that led Watase to bow his head.
すまん。
隊長のせいじゃないよ。みんなで探して見つけられなかったんだし。
Ukita suddenly spoke up when he heard Jun's comment.
隊長さんのせいじゃない？本当にそうなのだろうか。
Fuck you, buddy.
前から気になっていたんだが、ユーリ君は君に対して怯えていたような素振りがあったじゃないか。
That was the exact same thing that had been bugging Watase this whole time, but so someone else has finally pointed it out. Kazumi quizzically asked a question of her own.
浮田さん、それはどういう意味でしょう。
Darn, I thought it showed
そのままの意味だよ。
if someone got a point or not. And what I yeah.
第3エリアでの捜索中、ユーリ君が姿を消したことがあったね。ああ。僕はね、 あれはユーリ君が君から逃げようとしたんじゃないかとずっと思っていたんだ。
何？
浮田さん、どうしてそう思うの？
いや、君らは気づかなかったのかね。隊長さんが話しかけると、彼女はいつもビクッと身を震わせていただろう。
Kazumi and Jun's faces froze over.
確かにそんな素振りはあったけど、
災害の現状で要救助者が極度に怯えるのはよくあることです。ましてこの場は稀に見る劣悪環境。あのくらいの反応は普通のはずなんです。
みんながそう思いたいなら構わないよね。しかしどうだね隊長さん、君自身には何か心当たりはないかね。
His voice lacked any strength. Watase had no basis on which to deny Ukita's suspicions. As for why, it was because he didn't remember anything from before he had woken up. Did I do something horrible to Yuri? Like, she came this close to fucking telling us. We got a brief memory, but it didn't stick. Before I lost my memories.
どうなんだね隊長さん、本当に心当たりがないと言い切れるのかね。だいたい君はどうして地下に降りてきたんだね。なぜ記憶を失った？
I don't fucking know.
それは
外傷による記憶喪失は時間とともに回復するのが常だ。なのにいつまで経っても回復しない。妙ではないかね。
Well, yes, but what do you want me to say? Kita's questioning had turned into an all-out interrogation. Jun chose that moment to cut in.
浮田さん、何か言いたいことがあるの？
あるとも。そりゃ隊長さんの記憶喪失は嘘なのではないかということだよ。
Everyone gasped at that declaration.
なぜそんな嘘をつく必要があるんですか？
Ukita, don't make me regret not accusing you of being the terrorist.
何か隠したいことがあるからそう思ったのさ。いや、実を言ってしまえば僕は最初からそう睨んでいたんだ。
何？
僕は数時間前君にセキュリティカードを奪われたね。おかげで僕は第3エリアから移動できなくなってしまった。だが今考えればあれだってかなり妙だ。なぜセキュリティカードを奪う必要があるんだ？我々職員に隠れて何かしたいことがあったんじゃないのか？
何かってなんだよ。
そんなことを僕に聞かれてもわかるわけがない。だがユーリ君の怯えと何か関係があるように思えてしょうがない。その上他殺体がいくつも出ているんだ。怪しまざるを得ないだろう。
俺は何も悪いことはしていない。たとえ記憶がなかろうと。
ならばその潔白を証明してくれたまえ。
しかしそんなことを言われても。
Why does his voice trailed off there? How the hell is anyone supposed to prove that they have amnesia? He looked at Cosme and the others for help. They just stared at him with cold eyes.
確かに記憶がないのはおかしいよね。
Jun's eyes were full of suspicion.
隊長、何か証明できるものはないのですか？
Cosme said that in a pleading voice. Anna didn't say a thing.
そんな。
Watase's feet started to shake when he saw their reactions.
分かっただろう隊長さん。ユーリ君だけではない。みんなも怯えているんだ。 しかし俺は本当に。なんだね。では記憶がない間の行動を説明できるとでも言うのかね。
Watase groaned. It was bitter that he had no comeback to that. Frustrated that he couldn't remember anything. And above all else, he desired from the bottom of his heart to know what he had indeed been doing. Damn it, what in the world was I doing? What the hell was I? Just as Watase thought this. Eh? Light burst open in his head. Watase instinctively held his head.
なんだ。
隊長、どうしたの？
The rest of the group called out to Watase, but their voices sounded distant to him. A sense of time simultaneously lost all normality. As if every second were as long as an eternity, and an eternity was as short as a second. Oh, his vision grew disoriented and was dyed black. He heard a voice echo through the darkness. Watase sprung off into a run when he heard those voices. There was a watch right in his line of sight. Hands pointed to 6:42. Right after his memory of seeing the time... Huh? A hazy scene emerged from the darkness. It was of something that had happened right in Labo. Watase was running through some connecting passageway. What the hell is this? There were two men in protection suits running along with him. Were these Dojima and Hiyama? Their voices were muffled, so he had a hard time making out what they were saying. His field of vision was also foggy. It was then that Watase finally realized it. I get it. I'm also wearing a protection suit. Before long. Boy? He heard a boy's voice through his protection suit. Oh! Watase could see a boy and some girls standing further down the hallway. The boy shouted that as soon as he saw Watase and the others. One of the girls jumped for joy and waved at Watase and the others. Next to her was one other person, a blonde-haired girl. Watase and the others ran up to them.
NatsuhikoとMashiro、それからこっちはサリです。サリ？それはあだ名。三宮ルイーズ・ユイを縮めた。
そうか。
Watase checked the time as he said this. Watched his hands were pointing to 6:52. The scenery in front of him swayed and vanished at that moment. Then images flashed by one after another. This is... There were sights Watase had seen just a few hours ago. Fragments of his lost memories.
これはこんなところに AD が施設内にこんな大量に保管されていたのか。
あなたは
レスキュー隊だ。君を助けに来たんだ。さあ、この薬を。ダメだ。これを投与しなければ危険なんだ。暴れないでくれ。頼む。
Alright.
逃げられてしまった。
Was that all? tried to force her to take AD?
N エリア。この先でメルトダウンが。
え？
頭が。
This is the same area with this scream as the finale. The image is shattered and faded away. Watase screamed again as he returned to reality.
隊長、落ち着いてください。隊長。
Kasumi's voice brought him back to his senses. He realized that he was now back where he had started, the neuroscience laboratory.
大丈夫？
ああ、大丈夫だ。
Just to be curious, let's see how this changes if we stand up for ourselves.
無茶言うな。言いがかりだ。記憶がないってのにどうやって証明するんだよ。そうだろみんな。
Watase said that and turned to Kasumi and the others.
いや、しかし。
But they still have doubt. Kasumi shut her mouth before she could continue.
でも確かに記憶がないのは。
Jun looked at Watase for a moment with a flicker of suspicion. And we're right back where we started. Just a curiosity, but... Ooh, A. Where did she go? We got a red senses input here. And the feeling that something didn't add up hit him at that moment. Rudy was so scared about going down the elevator shaft that I had to carry her. And she was totally okay with climbing up? She got here faster than I could catch her? This isn't normal. Oh, destroy brain! Said her doubts began rapidly piling up. Something was off. Something about this wasn't right. So essentially we have to let her go in order to advance the plot. Huh? Something about this wasn't right. What is it? Did you really do something to me? Eh? Did you really do something to me? What the hell's wrong with me? Watase was confused by his own baseless thoughts. Just then, a memory flashed through his brain. Memory of a mere few minutes ago. He'd found Yuri in the elevator hall. She'd been saying something to him. Oddly enough, he couldn't remember what it was. Yuri eventually walked over towards him calmly. That was it. Everything after that had vanished. No, that wasn't it. I think the memory Watase had just remembered was a total mystery to him. What? Lost that memory without even being aware of it? No way. Could that have happened when my memories got muddled up a minute ago? There was one other thing he didn't understand. Why had Yuri been so calm when she was hanging around in a contaminated zone? You know what? This actually seems important. Mysterious anxiety burst into Watase's heart. Could it be that Yuri isn't affected by radiation? Then he knew that was an utterly insane idea. Something inside Watase was asserting that belief. She's immune to radiation. The fact that there was a blank in Watase's memories of the previous time he'd been in the elevator hall meant... Could Yuri still be looking around in that contaminated zone? Watase came to that conclusion and quickly backtracked to B2. This feels like important information to deduce, but it also feels like we're going towards the bad end. He suffered a horrific headache the moment he returned to the contaminated zone. Watase then became sure of it. There was no way a frail girl like Yuri could have ever put up with a headache like that. That means she really is. If that's the case, then what in the world is Yuri? If there really was a person unaffected by radiation, then they were probably something not human. Remember. Watase kept on commanding himself to remember with all his might as he searched the contaminated zone. He felt that the answer lied somewhere in his vanished memories. His headache grew much worse at that very moment. Watase gritted his teeth and desperately searched his memories. That's right, I found Yuri in the elevator hall back then. She then stretched her palm out to me, and then... That's right, I got scared. As I saw Yuri, and that monster was one and the same. Why does I remember that? But just then... Whoops! Owie, Watase held his head and screamed. His brain was being assaulted by a head-splitting headache. It was at that moment that Watase remembered that he'd been experiencing the same kind of agony just a short while ago. It's the radiations. By the time he realized it, it was too late. Pain churned the inside of his brain. His brain itself hit its limit. His brain cells tore apart. Breaking apart. Couldn't stop screaming. He heard the sound of his capillaries snapping apart in his head. Blood then poured out of his nose. His eyes and ears then suffered the same fate. Suddenly, everything vanished from Watase's world. Light to sound to his screams, and even the pain ravishing his brain. Even the BGM. That's right, everything. And the memories that made Watase who he was. Vanished. Disappeared into thin air. Became indecipherable. No, there's one thing that was clear. His brain had been completely destroyed. Then, his world became one of nothingness. There's that bad end. 16. The Terrified. Result of fearing Yuri at the worst possible time. Very high. Interesting. We already made it through there the first try. Alright. You got any new tips recently? No. That's 2 episodes in a row. Alright. Well, that'll be all for this video. Looks like we're starting to remember, but I feel like we didn't remember enough yet. It looks like this is going to go on a bit longer. But there still remains the question of, we need some AD, or else we're gonna die. It's either we get AD, or we figure out the secret behind Yuri's resistance, and use that to survive instead. So we shall see what happens going forward. Plenty of bad ends to go. Until then.